Inside Ramesses' camp, danger arrived beneath an enemy wheel. Hittite chariots were already tearing through the headquarters of Egypt's greatest living king. One Egyptian division had collapsed, carrying panic directly into another.
Keep moving! Break the camp before they can form!
The attackers found open flanks, scattered men, and no continuous line. Here, survival depended upon timber, balance, and one clear step through chaos. At the center stood Ramesses II, separated from most of his army.
Close that gap! Hold beside the royal chariot!
The city he came to capture watched his own camp being destroyed. Every second brought space. Every missed shot brought the wheels closer. And beyond the camp, more chariots were still entering the battle. Hours earlier, the same wheels had approached Kadesh in perfect order. Ramesses came north to restore Egyptian power across the contested cities of Syria. Kadesh guarded roads linking the coast, inland Syria, and the valley beyond. His army marched in 4 divisions: Amun, Ra, Ptah, and Seth. Distance opened between them, turning one army into 4 separated targets. Muwatalli had concealed a coalition army behind the city and river. His crews waited in silence, frightened horses carrying frightened men. Near Shabtuna, 2 local men approached the Egyptian advance guard.
The great king waits far north. He fears your advance.
The report matched what Ramesses hoped to find: an enemy avoiding battle. But the silence ahead existed because the army was beside him. The Egyptian account says Muwatalli sent them to deceive Ramesses. For generations, Egypt and Hatti had contested these wealthy Syrian corridors. Ramesses had pushed into Amurru before returning with a larger campaign. Muwatalli answered by assembling Hittite troops and allied contingents from across his empire. Exact totals remain disputed, but thousands of chariots filled his striking force. Roughly 20,000 Egyptians approached, but their road divided strength across many miles. Amun crossed first, carrying the king and most of his immediate command. Near the city, Amun halted and built a campaign camp. Ra still marched south of the camp, burdened by dust and baggage. Ptah and Seth were farther away, unable to support Ramesses quickly. Everything visible reinforced the lie. Kadesh looked isolated and afraid.
The other divisions remain distant, Majesty.
Amun camps here. Bring the others forward.
The army began resting before its commander knew the enemy's position. Behind Kadesh, Muwatalli watched the Egyptian divisions remain separated. His ambush required patience until the Egyptian column exposed its side. Then Egyptian patrols captured 2 men moving near the camp. Under coercion, their account destroyed every assumption guiding Ramesses forward.
Muwatalli is here. His army waits behind Kadesh.
The enemy was close enough to attack before Egypt could concentrate. Even the victory narrative preserved how completely Egypt's command had been deceived. Ramesses ordered the camp armed, and the trailing divisions hurried forward.
I will reach Pita. Seal the camp!
His warning moved south by horse, runner, and shouted command. Ra received nothing in time and continued marching without a battle line. Muwatalli released his chariots against the exposed division. They crossed south of Kadesh, screened from Egyptian sight until the final approach. Once ashore, the mass widened and turned toward Ra's unprotected flank. The warning travelled on
Form
feet.
up.
The ambush travelled on wheels.
Turn the column! Shields east! Turn the column!
Ra remained in marching order. Its men faced different directions inside seconds. Missiles struck first, breaking attention before the chariots reached the line. The chariots entered gaps before any continuous shield wall could form. Wood struck wood, turning baggage into obstacles for both armies. Speed gave each spear weight, but every turn risked horse, axle, and crew. Dust erased command signals, and the rear could no longer read the front. The strike cut across Ra, then drove its survivors toward Ramesses' camp. When the standard disappeared, nearby companies lost their final point of reference. Commands existed, but movement carried them nowhere through the broken column. Baggage blocked retreat along the road and forced men into exposed ground. The attackers also made choices inside terror, sometimes losing advantage to avoid collision.
Drive them north! Do not let them reform!
Ra ceased functioning as a division, though pockets continued fighting. The messenger saw the disaster, but could only continue toward Ptah. At Armun, sentries first saw their own soldiers, then the enemy behind them. Closing the camp would abandon Ra. Opening it invited the pursuit inside. Panic supplied the force that Hittite chariots needed to breach Armun. The pursuit crossed the perimeter before defenders could separate friend from attacker. The camp opened the line, then cluttered every chariot's path.
Lock shields between the tents! Archers behind us!
Narrow lanes finally gave scattered infantry something solid to defend. Animals, ropes, tents, and carts began stealing speed from the attack. Ramesses learned that Ra was broken and the camp already penetrated. Retreat meant crossing the same road, now filled with enemy vehicles. Even the men who revealed the trap were now trapped inside it. Fresh Hittite crews arrived before Egypt could restore a continuous perimeter. City, river, fugitives, and chariots closed every easy route away. The pharaoh could wait for destruction or create space by force. The only opening left ran directly through the attackers.
Stay together. We open the camp here.
The royal chariot moved first, giving nearby survivors a direction to follow. Guards, charioteers, and surviving soldiers turned one movement into a local counterattack. They followed because the king was visible, moving toward the danger. Infantry secured the ground that chariots alone could never hold. Concentrated arrows denied the attackers straight approaches through the camp. One disabled team could close an entire lane behind it. Inside the camp, speed became congestion and mass became separation. Egyptian chariots shot, turned, and reopened distance before striking again. The counterattack succeeded through repeated passes, each reopening space. When vehicles touched, timber failed before courage could matter.
Lear the wrecks! Reform beyond the tents!
Muwatalli still possessed fresh chariots and sent more toward the camp. From across the river, Muwatalli saw momentum becoming a struggle of attrition. Much of his infantry remained formed beyond the main collision. Fresh crews entered a battlefield already damaged by the first assault. Royal inscriptions remember repeated charges. The surviving army made those charges possible. Each pass damaged horses and vehicles that could not be replaced here. As vehicles stalled, mobile warfare collapsed into infantry combat. There was no elegant duel, only pressure weight, and exhausted hands. Command now meant protecting men as often as directing them.
Left, Majesty! The horses can still turn there!
Then, a force called the Neo reached the camp from the northwest.
Take the open side! Keep them from the camp!
Their exact identity remains disputed. Their arrival changed the battle. The attackers now faced pressure from directions their charge had opened. From the south, Tar finally approached the battlefield in formation. Another Egyptian division threatened the route connecting them to the ford. The ambush force risked becoming trapped between the camp and arriving reinforcements. Muwatalli's chariots withdrew toward the crossings they had used that morning. At the bank, retreat compressed speed into another lethal congestion. Some crews drowned. Others escaped with nothing except their lives.
Grab the reeds! Push up! Push up!
Why Muwatalli withheld much of his infantry cannot be known with certainty. Ramesses held the camp. Kadesh had never opened its gates.
Survival became counting, carrying, binding, and searching before darkness. Even the royal vehicle carried the physical cost of repeated fighting. Ra had survived in fragments, its losses impossible to recover before Kadesh. Across the river, Hittite survivors counted their own empty places. No reliable casualty total survives for either army. Ramesses lacked the position and strength required to take the fortress. The Egyptian army eventually withdrew, carrying its wounded and damaged equipment south. Muwatalli had failed to destroy Egypt's army, but retained Kadesh. Tactical recovery could not erase strategic failure. In Egypt, another battle began across temple walls. Scale became argument, one king towering above an entire coalition.
Let Egypt remember that its king returned.
The monument removed confusion, companions, damaged equipment, and doubt. The royal story transformed a collective recovery into solitary heroism. Yet Egyptian records also preserved deception, collapse, and the army's dangerous separation. War and rivalry continued because Kadesh had settled nothing permanently. About 15 years later, Ramesses and Hattusili III chose formal peace. Their agreement survives among the earliest great power treaties preserved from both sides. The river carried away the noise. Stone preserved the argument. Ramesses won the story. Muwatalli kept Kadesh.